Show me again, Akaza demanded. I obliged, gritting my teeth as I followed his breathing instructions, and after a few more moments of silence, I completed with such perfection as I could muster. Good, he huffed, uncrossing his arms from the stance he'd been in for the last few hours we'd been at this. Now I'm going to leave you to practice this on your own for a bit. I opened my eyes, already frowning at his words. What? You're leaving? Akaza nodded, looking away. I have to do some hunting on my own tonight, he said, his words forcing my brows to rise. He was going to hunt tonight? I thought you only hunted when... You're going to stay here and practice concentration breathing, all right? He interrupted. I glanced at him. You don't have to be so rude about it, asshole. Another grin he attempted to hide, his eyes flashed. That won't be long, dear. Practice until I return. The use of one of his nicknames forced me to pause, the sound of it bringing back the familiar warmth. Unfortunately, that single pause didn't allow me to think of a response for him, and thus Akaza was gone, leaving me in the middle of the forest clearing. I grumbled at myself, cursing him under my breath. Damn him. The clearly sudden vault was a bit bigger, more empty. Without the powerful force of my companion, but I suppose it was still lovely nonetheless. The tall trees and dark wood, a multitude of flowers, however, like most things it didn't entirely feel complete. Not without Akaza. I shook my head, grimacing at my own thoughts. How I ever grown so attached to him? Inhaling, I closed my eyes, beginning to focus on my breathing style he was teaching me. It struck me a bit odd that he never taught me such a key tool of strength until now. I did so for minutes, turning out the crickets and the soft whispers of the wind that brushed so heavily often. In. Out. Why didn't Akaza teach me any of this before? We never did much training aside from our usual regain. It was always sparring until the damn kiss of the horizon, our dance that never faltered. But this new method, breathing techniques, I had the oddest sensation that whatever it was somehow in correlation with whatever happened with the other demon. I gritted my teeth, faltering for a moment at the thought. I ignored it, continuing the steady rhythm of my oxygen intake. In. Out. Akaza was okay. He didn't die during the fight, or whatever it was that had taken place. Even so, something was wrong with him, as if a new part of him was taken over, a more demonic part of him, and he was beginning to push me away because of that. Maybe he had begun to realize that I was feeling that night, when we'd been walking together, hand in hand, when we'd been dancing, when he brought me my art supplies, when he'd been standing by the river. In that moment, I wanted to get closer to him in a way that was different from training and close combat practice. I felt the urge, the sudden desire to close the distance between us. I wanted to touch him, to be closer. It had been such an urge that even for a moment, I couldn't breathe at the want that took over me. And he had looked at me the same exact way, the hunger returning into his gaze. It was a rage sort of emotions, a scent that he let off, one oozing with a lack of self-control. In. Out. It wasn't only that I wanted to touch him. No. I wanted him to touch me. I wanted him to look at me with a look of pride, the look of belonging and acceptance. The only thing that has kept me going was always the emotion he held within his eyes. Yet I'd grown attached to him. In that way, I hadn't been entirely sure, but I think the night of the festival I had begun to uncover what this feeling was, because being with him, I felt free. In. Out. Freedom. I had never once been free from anything, not in my entire life. I couldn't remember what it felt like to be truly free, to not have to have such a heavy burden on my shoulders, to not have always a sense of shadow of guilt atop my chest, like the demon taking away my ability to breathe with ease. My whole life, everything had felt constricted, as if I couldn't grasp every aspect of my existence. I was devoid of choice, forcing to kill and slaughter since birth. In, out. I was one of Japan's most renowned assassins. I killed hundreds, guilty or innocent. I had slaughtered them. For that one goal I had ruined myself. My companion had once asked me why I did so, and I had given him the undeniable truth. But being with Akaza, I found myself finally feeling free of those chains that had tied me to that lifestyle I'd been forced into. I suppose I used to always believe my mother had kept the keys to those chains all these years. But being with Akaza, I felt as though he had the keys, as though he had unlocked me from this prison, even if it was temporarily. I was able to get even the smallest taste of freedom with him. My own thoughts were then erupted by an eerie chuckle and the sounding of heavy breathing. My eyelids opened. Everything, including my breathing, paused in not even a second. The laugh, it echoed around the clearing. It filled the void of power that Akaza had left behind. It was the sense, the same powerful sense, only weaker. So a demon was here. I let out my breath slowly. Another laugh settled in, and I was unable to locate the source. Only then did I begin to feel the smallest breath, a brush against my neck, causing the hair on my body to rise with a sudden whisper of air. "You truly smell delicious," a voice said. It was a raspy, dry voice, so at the odds with the velvety and smooth tones of Akaza's voice. The demon was ragged, his breath out of order. "Is that so?" I asked, a bit breathless. A growl sounded. "Master will be so happy when I deliver you to him." I turned around, facing the demon. He was about my height, powerfully built physically, but his sense of overwhelming power was utterly weak compared to who I had grown accompanied to. I hardly got more than a single glance at his matching pale green eyes and hair before the demon moved, reaching out a hand to grab a hold of my arm. Though before he could lay even a finger on me, an overwhelming thunderous sound filled the clearing, the force of it shaking the ground, the trees. It reverberated through me, though the demon, who was hair-breadth away from touching me, he had paused, freezing, struck down with fear. And although I walked myself not to, my body had betrayed me, my own senses rising up their guard at the power that filled the area. I could feel the aura, and I knew who it was. From that aura alone, I never got a chance to look at Akaza before he struck. I hadn't even seen where he'd come from, and all of a sudden, however, the demon in front of me was gone. I flew back to avoid any carnage as Akaza's tattooed body flashed before my vision, another wave of his power coming forth as he sent the green-haired demon flying straight into one of the thick pine trees surrounding us. The contrast between demon and tree was monstrous. The hit so hard that anyone would have been dead at the utter impact. My eyes went a bit wide at the strength from the hit, as I slowly then turned my gaze back towards Akaza, only a few feet in front of me. It was truly a sight to behold, to see the wrath in his eyes, now alit with a fiery rage, his aura blue and shimmering around him in a way that accompanied the night itself, the dust around him, the tattoo seemingly more pigment against his pale skin. The sight of him, the feel of his power, it threatened me to fall to my knees. He stared at me for a moment before he was gone in a flash, over towards the demon in which he'd flown into the tree. "You bastard. Why are you protecting her?" The raspy voice of the demon sounded as he removed himself from the trick of the tree, which he'd been smashed against. Akaza merely stretched over towards him calmly. "I believe the better question would be why you're even here in the first place." His voice was so calm, bored. I watched, not knowing what to do. The demon growled up at him, half a knee down to the ground with blood pouring from his temple. "You idiot!" Don't you realize that our master is in need of her? The green-haired demon seethed through his teeth, still accompanying to the rise from the ground. Always the mention of their master. My curiosity piqued at who that might be, and what he even wanted with me in the first place. If I were to return her, I'm surely relieve a reward from his power, he continued. Akaza only continued to walk towards him. You could too, if we were to hand her in together. I'm sure he would both give us... He froze then, cutting off his own words as he looked up at the pink-haired demon, his eyes widening as he beheld Akaza as he crouched down, tilting his head and observing the demon in which he'd thrown. The green-haired demon opened his mouth, eyes widening even further as he stared at Akaza's golden eyes, labeled his rank. You, the demon breathed, attempting to back away. You're... Akaza's calm voice interrupted him. I'm going to give you one chance to tell me why is it that you demons believe you have some sort of claim on this woman. His words were bored, though his tone was laced with an icy venom, and Akaza bent down a little closer to him, a sinister smile placed upon his lips, so different from the ones I'd seen from him. Too many of you have begun to get in my way, Akaza continued, though I do suppose that word gets around quickly, especially regarding the mission I'd been assigned to. The demon he was belittling gulped abruptly. I'm quite aware of the idiotic lot of you weaklings and your hunt for her. I simply want to know why is it that you believe you have any right to take her? You mentioned handing her over to the master. At least you aren't here to devour her. Ah, I thought. Again, their master. Not only at that, my mind began to nag on the other bit of information he had given. Akaza was aware of their hunt for me? He had known this demon was here the whole time? I'm sorry, I only... Akaza stood up. I have a little message for you and your other weaklings, he begun, glaring down at the demon who could do nothing but stare upwards. She is mine, and anyone who dares to attempt to take Yin from me will be met with a gruesome and painful death. His voice was calm but alert. The only reason I'm allowing you to live is for you to pass on this message. Yin Lin belongs to Upper Moon 3. My eyes went a bit wide, matching that of the other demons. You will stop this hunt immediately. Akaza finished. Now go. Tell all the other weaklings, unless they have a death wish, they can stay the hell away from her. Silence fell over the clearing, and after a few moments, the green-haired demon was gone. Without another word, his weak essence was devoted from the area. Akaza stayed where he was, still staring down at the place in which the demon had been. She's mine. She belongs to Upper Moon 3. Anyone who dares to take her. Akaza's words etched through me as I watched him, his powerful back moving along with his pink vest, flowing in the gentle breeze, his aura still radiated around him, his blue glow such a straight contrast against the fury light of his golden eyes. It was as if every part of the forest was watching him as well, as though he was in charge of the entire area, as if the forest itself would bow down to this powerful being. The sight was so beautiful. I found myself wanting to paint it. I could see it now. The colors, the canvas, the name I would give it. The being of life and death. Akaza tore towards me, snapping me out of my own thoughts. You practiced? He watched. He said, walking over to me as the powerful aura was then released, stuck back into him. The lack of it caused my breath to hitch. What? I asked, a bit breathless. You practiced, like I told you. Well done. I frowned at his words, my awe of him dissipating with every passing second. That's all you have to say? It was his turn to frown, tilting his head as he stopped in front of me, arms now crossed over his chest. She's mine. She belongs to Upper Moon 3. Are you not going to explain what the hell is happening? He didn't respond, his face holding no emotion. The lack of it made my vision go a bit red. You need to tell me what is going on, Akaza. You said you know that they were hunting me? You were aware that this demon was here the whole time, weren't you? I asked. Akaza had arrived before the demon could even lay a hand on me, as if he had been watching from the shadows. You knew, didn't you? I glared, suddenly feeling angrier with every passing second. Yes. He was nonchalant about it. I took a step forward. How long? He knew what I meant. He watched me for a moment before speaking. The demon had been following you since this morning. My heart skipped a beat. You were telling me that. He finished for me. The only reason we came out here to train today was for a test, in a way. Akaza said, letting out a sigh, as if he were already bored with this conversation. A test of what? I seethed. Damn him. Damn him and all of his secrets. For distracting himself from me. For deciding things for me. For hiding such things. For not telling me any of this. To see whether you would attack if I were to leave you prisoners, or try to take you. He shrugged. I was curious. I needed information. I stopped breathing for a moment. So you used me, I mumbled. He nodded. Sorry. You used me as bait, I said, a bit clearer, suddenly feeling my own thunderous heartbeat, slow and steady. My eyes twitched. Blown away, I suppose. You asshole! I hissed at him. I wasn't even sure why I was becoming angry at him. Does that anger you, dear? He asked, bending over towards me. Don't call me that, I snapped. You have no right to tell me. I can do what I want, he said simply. My anger rose at that as I went to punch him, hardly able to pay attention to much else aside from the red vision I'd had. He dodged the push, and I growled in annoyance, spinning around to face the way he subsided. I struck him again, only for him to dodge. Again, dodge, another, again. Damn you, I heaved. Akaza began to taunt me. Damn me, I just saved you, he stated. From behind, I twirled behind my fist over towards him, the source of his steady voice. You only saved me as a part of your plan, I growled, finally landing a few hits, his dodge and forearm. His eyes lighting up with an amused glow as he got closer. A spar began to take place. Akaza on the defense with me on the offense, striking him out with pure rage. Rage for the way he was treating me, for building me up so high only to leave me stranded, abandon me. For telling me all those wonderful things only to use me for one of his plans. To save me in every way possible only to... I miss this, he said, a smile growing onto his lips. I sneered at him, throwing my leg up to kick aside. You've become strong again. Look at you. His words were eventually cut off by my hands landing right where I wanted it to. A move that Akaza himself had taught me. Time and time again it had failed, but this time I had struck. He stumbled back, hands going up to touch the punch I'd landed under his chin, whilst at the same time I'd used the other hand to push his chest, my one leg whipping around his own, forcing his knees to buckle. In one swift movement, I was on top of him, locking him in place. He grinned. There you are. I threw another punch, silencing him. I bent down, both of my hands pressing harder into revealed chest. Don't you ever use me as bait again! Akaza's brows raised. He tried to wiggle underneath me, to switch that he was on top of me, but I held him down, glaring down at him with rage. All of this was built-up rage. I paused again with my hands harder, his eyes flickering up to my face, his grin faltering. Do you hear me? Don't ever do that again, Akaza. Use me like that again. I will kill you. His smile dropped as he looked up at me. I hit him again, though he did nothing to dodge it. Don't ever put me up as bait again. I breathed between hits, my stomach rolling at the thought. My hits grew a bit weaker, the feeling of the pit in my stomach growing, swallowing me up with every punch that Akaza chose not to block. My fist fell into his chest. My breathing became uneven as I looked down, my eyes closed, my throat beginning to close up, especially as his tone grew softer, delicate even as he spoke. Why? My fist clenched, silent, falling over for a moment. You can do that, I whispered. You can't. I couldn't open my eyes. I couldn't even look at him in that moment. I couldn't see the look he was giving me, for it matched the soothing tone in his voice. What can't I do, Yin? His voice was hardly more than a whisper. I shook my head, still straddling him with my thighs, hands still pressing against his vest-covered chest. You can't make me feel so, I swallowed. Wonderful for one night, only to discard it right after. You can't just build me up, make me feel safe and comfortable around you, only to use me for something as stupid as this. My voice turned a bit ragged as I felt tears begin to prick at my eyes. I wasn't know why for sure. Why this was hurting me so much. His behavior. You can't dance with me, look at me the way you do, smile at me, only to remind me that you're only here for a stupid deal. I finally opened my eyes, blurring with the onset of tears. Akaza only watched me, silently wide-eyed, the only hint of shock that I was saying. You used me today, I said, my voice cracking. You used me for a plan I hadn't even known about. You've been ignoring me all day. You won't tell me a goddamn thing. I heard a dead laugh, shaking my head and looking away from him. If I did something, tell me, I whispered, feeling my heart fall a bit. I can't stand the way you look at me now, as if I'm some sort of puppet, now after the way you used to look at me. I finished. Akaza was frozen under me, his chest rising and falling just barely. His wounds in which I dealt were healed, yet he still stared, silence taking a hold on both of us as tears began to fall from my cheeks. Yin, he said, with an equal quiet. Why did I look at you? He asked with such gentleness. My heart only begun to break even further. I sniffled, closing my eyes once more. You looked at me like you cared. See, that's the thing, Yin. My eyes snapped open. You can't do this to me either, he said to me. His eyes held something entirely different, so similar to what I'd seen when we'd been at the river last night. What do you mean? I asked, frowning and wiping away some of my tears. Akaza scanned my face, his eyelided eyes going over every single detail, as if memorizing what he could. You aren't allowed to make me care. You aren't allowed to make me feel the way I do. But the truth is, because I do care, he whispered, eyes never leaving my own. He reached up a hand, hesitating before touching my face with his blue fingers, wiping away some tears. I care about you, Yin. And God knows I damn well shouldn't. I froze, feeling everything in me go utterly weak on top of him as he caressed my cheek. You made me care. Damn it, he said. I'm sorry. I breathed, not knowing what to do with myself. Heat began to take a hold of me, that familiar wanting for him to take control of my body. The warmth inside me bloomed every which way, every stroke he dealt against my cheek. Akaza laughed. A beautiful sound. You don't have to apologize, love. He moved his hand away, and that I almost frowned at the lack of content. But before I could do so, I felt both of his hands resting on my hips. My heart skipped a beat at his delicate touch. Is this all right? He asked. I nodded, my throat closing up. He looked at my body, perched on top of him. I miss seeing you in that kimono, he said, his hands beginning to do soothing strokes along my side. My heartbeat became thunderous once more, my mind screaming at him to give me more, to touch me more. Then he sat up, allowing me to fall down a bit more until we were both sat in front of each other over the grass, my legs still wrapped on top of his hands loosely gripped my hips. I'm sorry, he whispered so softly I almost missed it. I'm sorry for using you today. I blinked, feeling tears threaten me again. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think underneath his touch. With his gaze on me, my stomach began to twist, the heat exploring further as he brought me a bit closer. I won't do it again, he said, leaning in and brushing his lips against my cheek. I promise. He mumbled against my damp skin. He kissed the area again, and it almost undid me. I didn't know what to do with myself. I didn't want to let him go. After everything, you made me care. He began between another kiss. You made me protect you. I closed my eyes, savoring the feeling of how his lips brought every part of me to life. He moved around my cheek, kissing different areas, so close to my own lips. My breath hitched as his lips brushed the corner of my mouth, awakening a full-bloom desire I had been shoving down for a long time now. You made me want you, he then said. My voice was shaky as I spoke. You want me? He mumbled against me. I've wanted you for so long, Ian. I've hungered for you. In what way do you hunger for me, Akaza? I said, my eyes still closed, as he explored with his lips so dangerously close to my own. I'm not entirely sure, he said, getting closer to my jaw, right below my ear. The feeling of it was so delicate, so gentle. I want you close to me. There are some days where I can't stand it, where I can hardly ignore the way I want you. His words were melting me. I can't stand it, the way you make me feel, Akaza said, and what you've done to me. Instinctively, I scooted in closer towards him, beginning shaking hands to his body, bringing them around towards his back, drawing delicate lines on my own. He let a noise of pleasure, and it struck something in me. Heat was pouring everywhere, my chest, my head, and between my legs. Oh, God. Akaza? Are you okay? He asked, pulling away from me for a slightly to get a glimpse of my face. I could hardly care, my gaze going directly for the part that had been brushing against me. My lips were slightly damped, a bit more swollen from the delivering of kisses. My own mouth dry at the sight. I needed to distract myself from him. What happened last night? I asked breathlessly, drawing lines along his back, bringing my hand up and towards his chest, tracing his tattoos on my finger. His eyes flustered in response as I did so. What happened with the demon? I want to know. Akaza didn't seem alarmed as I spoke, as if I were focused on the way I was caring for him. You're quite eager, aren't you? I only hummed one response, shifting a bit closer to him, my gaze still on his powerful built chest. There is a meeting with a high-rank demon, he said, and I paused my tracing for a moment before continuing. I am required to attend. Oh, I said, and there is one more thing. I looked up at him, frowning slightly before he spoke. You are required to come along as well.